Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us in today's episode of Mind Over Screens podcast, where we will be discussing empowerment and advocacy. I'm your host, Milica Pelagic. I'm a volunteer in Svitac Brčko. I'm also a third-year high school student, and I'm very excited to be talking today. So, in my opinion, empowerment and advocacy encourages young people to learn how to develop healthy digital habits while using online platforms for activism and creative influence. It also encourages youth to engage in policy discussions on digital rights and understand their role in shaping online culture. With the discussion of this topic, we want to promote digital literacy and help newer generations to improve their digital knowledge. In discussion of this topic, I have our guest for today, Sergej Đukić. Hello, Sergej, who is going to now introduce himself.
Hello, Milica, and hello to all of our listeners. My name is Sergej Đukić. I'm a third-year grammar school student in a sociolinguistic department, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity to talk to you about empowerment and advocacy today.
I am looking forward to the discussion. So, as I understand, you have some knowledge on this topic. You have been a part of many programs and many educational studies and everything. So would you please tell me something about that?
Of course, activism was always part of my life. I took part in a lot of programs, projects, camps, trainings about that, and I have always been some active voice of my youth, and I think talking about these topics and talking about them to youth and some young people who need to hear this is very important, and that we must encourage them to find out, to research, to explore, because digital world is absolutely amazing, but at the same time it's also very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So I would like to start us off with asking you what app or digital tool you couldn't live without and why.
Well, an app I couldn't live without is Instagram, of course, because I use that app to talk to my friends, to my parents, to family, to everyone. I use it to talk to literally everybody and to see what's happening in the world, in the town, what people are doing. And I've used it for a lot of years. And at this point in my life, I couldn't imagine it without Instagram.
Is there some digital tool, especially that helps you in your everyday life or maybe your school life even?
Well, of course it is. For example, I'm a person who uses AI. I'm always on ChatGPT, and I have ChatGPT Premium because I really need it, and I really learned to use it, to ask the right questions. And well, that is one example of a digital tool that can be very goodly used by young people.
While we're on the topic of ChatGPT, it is said that some information isn't right. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree. But I must say that if you want to have right information by ChatGPT, if you want to get them, you must ask the right questions, you must ask for resources, you must send some pages from which ChatGPT will draw like all the information you need. So I think if you know how to put some frame, and if you know how to really use it, then you get the right information.
I see. So ChatGPT uses information from articles that it finds on web. So, for instance, how do you personally decide which information to trust online? Because not everything is true.
Well, I always check sources. I ask ChatGPT, okay, where did you find this information? And it gives me the answers. It sends me the links. I check the links. If those are important information that needs to be checked, if it is something like that, I check the resources. I check the information, and I see if it's right or not.
Are there any digital tools, especially to check if the other digital tools and the resources that you get are correct? Do you know of any of them?
Yes, of course. For example, when it comes to AI, we can use these AI checkers. Well, for example, if we want to submit some essay at school which was written by ChatGPT or some other AI tool, those applications, those sites are able to give you information whether those articles were written by AI or by human. And we can also use some tools to humanize texts that were written by ChatGPT And there are plenty of other digital tools that can be used in this world. Why? Because the whole world is digitalized, and for literally everything that you can do, like in person, you can find some, how to say, tool that can do it online, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing us closer to understanding that digital tools and AI can be used inside the classroom and outside of it. But in your opinion, I want to know what's one thing schools could do better to prepare students for digital life outside of the classroom, so in their everyday life, social life, and other.
Well, when it comes to school systems, we know that then, how to say, a bit outdated.
Yeah.
And when it comes to those IT lessons that we have at school, they're okay. We learn some important information there. For example, how to use Word, how to use Excel, and applications like that. But I think schools should focus more about digitalization, and schools should be able to, how to say, to incorporate some other subjects that will provide information on these topics, and to make their students be ready for the outside world, which involves all of those digital tools.
Yeah, I honestly agree, because in our IT classes, I think that it doesn't really touch the digital world that we should know. Yeah, as you said, it is outdated. But is there something in IT class specifically that you would change outside of our school program?
Well, for example, when we learn to program, when we learn to write codes, we use some outdated apps which aren't used anymore.
Yeah.
So I would make IT lessons, how to say, more approachable to things that are in the outside world and that they are used to. But in order to have good IT lessons, you must change the plan and program every year, because digital world changes day by day, not year by year. But if you want to really teach your students something, you must change it literally year by year.
Yeah, I also think that a big part of it is the older generations, as you would say, and a big part of that is our parents and teachers. But um, how can parents support or educate their children better without over controlling them? So, in the stance of the digital world.
Well, I think parents should always be ready to learn new things. I think everyone in this world should be, how to say, should want to learn everything about digital tools, this digitalization process. And I think parents should inform themselves and then inform their children. But there are also some really good educations which you can find online, you can find like in real life. So I think if parents want to make their children a bit more educated, they should be able to provide them financially those educations, and to just really support them in order to have their children like be able to revolve around this world.
Yeah, but as learning is a two-way street, so every day we can learn something from our parents, but as we are learning creatures, our parents can also learn from us. Um, in cases that someone isn't financially, able to afford those AI classes, I would say, do you think that maybe if parents and their children or teachers took their time to really study and go online and look for something to learn about it, would you think that it would be closer for children and parents to do that than to maybe look for education?
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I think there should be more affordable options, and there are more affordable options. But the thing is, you must look for it. You must research. You can't just sit at home and wait for something to happen. You must really want to do it. You must really like have the want to make your child learn something.
Yeah, I agree. So next up, I would love to know what change would you like to see in digital spaces for young people?
Well, I think I would like to see some improvements based on topics that are discussed, and to make it more approachable. And I think one really important aspect of this topic is also security, because it's not a safe environment. And I think like security and safety, like those safety options should be upgraded in order to in order for children to have a safer environment online.
So how would you do that if you could have that option for you to make internet more safe for children? How would you do it?
Well, I think the law is something that should do that. I think our law system and some legal procedures would have to be changed in order to do that. So, firstly, I would, I would try to do something with that field.
Yeah, so you would make it more so that I guess the state is responsible for their safety and not just like us as children, because
Yes.
what do we know? We are just there. Okay, so is there anything or anyone that inspires you digitally, and why or why not?
Well, of course, there are some influencers that give some good pieces of advice, life coaches, some people that we really can learn some good things from. But it's really important to stress out that not everyone wants good for their listeners. Some people just are there for the marketing to promote products for money, and I think it's good to listen to those people, to people online, but always share the information with someone who is expert in the field the thing is about.
Yeah, that is very well said. But have you ever been a victim, I guess, of someone that you maybe followed for even years, that you found out actually that was a scam, I would say?
Well, I haven't had that experience. My friends had those experiences, but if I had to remember one experience, I wouldn't be able to do it at the moment.
So when you listen to podcasts or watch videos on YouTube, what type of content do you usually engage in?
Well, I use it for school to explain some lessons. I like watching some short videos about some topics that are interesting to me, about psychology, about interacting with other people and things like that. So I've heard a lot of good advice. So yes, those are some type of things I watch online.
I also have a question here that I would really like to pick your brain about. So how can digital literacy support youth voice and civil engagement?
Well, online platforms are a fantastic tool to to support youth voice and civil engagement. And if you are literate in that world, and if you know how to use those platforms in a good way, they can help you to spread out real information and to get to people to youth wants to get. So yes.
Do you think that marketing is a part of that, and how do you think that really works?
Well, marketing is always part of everything, and I don't think marketing is a bad thing. It's just the way it's used. Like people who promote some products, who have some marketing duties, if they do it in a good way, in an ethically correct way, then it's 100% okay.
Yeah, I also think that children fall victim to those marketing scams, and overall, it is everything that you said, but maybe law, that was really something that I caught that you said that I really liked. Maybe law should be more engaged and look through their citizens' engagement, I guess. Maybe view the sites and just overall help the children. Would you agree?
Yes, I would have.
Yeah. Okay, so what skills should be considered essential for digital literacy for the next generation?
To know how to check information, to have literal literacy, not to don't know how to write some basic things online, to be able to talk online, to have a strong mindset that isn't offended by some hate comments and things like that. To know how to distinct what's fake, what's not fake, what's real, what's not.
Well, what would you change, especially like specifically in our town, when it comes to digital? Because digital literacy is a worldwide topic, but some places that are more rural, that don't have as much maybe internet engagement. What do you think is like the main difference there?
Well, I would improve them. I would definitely improve them. I would like to improve some digital tools, to incorporate some good digital tools. And I think, and I'll also get back to the point which I think it's very important. I think the law is something that's really important in this aspect.
Mm. Can you think of one example where somebody really did some change thanks to social media?
Well, for example, people who really have, I'll give a good example. For example, children who are sick,
Hmm.
who need to get some operations, who need some funds in order to get healthier. Marketing that, call that number, send money to that really can help. And if influencers, some celebrities, and people who are known in the town, in the country, worldwide, if they spread the information, then it can really be essential and effective for the child itself.
Yeah, but I agree. Do you think that those influencers that we do speak of use their platforms for the better, for a better cause? Because I personally think that influencers don't use their platforms enough. I think most
I think
influencers
it
and
depends on an
celebrities.
influencer.
Yeah.
I think it depends on an influencer. There are some influencers who are really good, who really have good fandom, who really have good people who support them and who really spread the right information. But on the other hand, we have those influencers who are not able to spread out the real information, who just care about the money, about the fame, and not about their fans, about people who really follow.
Yeah, I think that with having a platform, it should come with like you should be responsible for making the world a better place if you do have a platform, especially nowadays where everything is digital. So if you had your platform, if you had a big platform, if you were known worldwide, what would you do with your platform?
That's a tough question. Well, it depends on which knowledge I would have, which information I could share. But I think I would, well, I'm sure I would share the information within the ethically right context.
Yeah, and I know that you are a charitable person. So do you think that you would maybe make up some charities that would be mainly online based, just so many people worldwide could, engage in just participate in a better cause?
Of course, I would, yes, of course.
Okay. Um, so yeah, how do we teach critical thinking in an algorithm-driven world?
Well, I think critical thinking, the most important thing about critical thinking is to know how to think from more perspectives, like to have mm, to have that ability to look into something from different angles. So I think if we really teach children and people who want to think about critical thinking to see some situation from different sides, then we get to teach them real critical thinking.
Yeah, before everything else, we have to have empathy and
Yes.
patience. So the last question that I want to ask you is, what is one message you would give to the listeners? How can we be more digital literate starting right here and right now?
One message I would give to all our listeners is to educate themselves, to explore. There are so many online resources, so many pages, websites. If you really want to do it, you can, and you are doing a good thing.
Yeah, so I would also like to leave a message. I think that every try, everything we do for our greater good on the internet is going to be worth it in the end. I think that this discussion as well is going to do great things. I think that just talking about everything and just meeting up, talking about everything that's actually important instead of just, I guess, doom scrolling and using social media to just waste time is not a good cause. I think that we should use our platforms better. And I thank you, Sergey, for joining us today.
I thank you for calling me and to giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this time with you, and I hope that we in the future can do this again sometime.
I hope that as well.
Thank you.